Good afternoon, all of you. So we'll continue with the session. So we are going to start with what? Just now what we have discussed the Plastic Waste Management Amendment 2025 itself, okay? And the original rule, it belongs to your Plastic Management Rule 2016 itself. Now we are studying what Solid Waste Management Rule 2026 itself, okay? So this is also important, write down. So the Solid Waste Management Rule 2026 notified by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. You should remember the ministry. Sometimes you will get confused if it is written like Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Okay, so that statement it will be incorrect. On January 20, 2026, that officially supersede 2016 rules. These rules comes into full effect from 1st of April 2026 and paradigm shift from simple collection and disposal to circular economy. That means what? From this what it is moving towards circular economy itself. So in the plastic management waste itself, we have seen that they are the two most important ingredients. First of all, it moves towards the circular economy, and apart from that, digital traceability it is being included. Is it? And apart from that, they have changed the concept of importer itself. Is it okay? Now, this circular economy and digital accountability, similar concepts are being adhered to this particular waste management rule itself. Now, 4 stream segregation. Here, what we have declared the waste that it should be segregated into 4 different types. For example, waste now must be segregated at the source itself. Wet waste, organic kitchen and food waste. It will be for your composting or biomethanation. For it will be used for the development of biomethanol. It will be used for the development of biomethanol. Is it okay? That means what? It's a biofuel. It's your biofuels. Okay. Waste to energy management. Second, dry waste. So recycles plastic, paper, metal, and glass material recovery facilities. Because we have seen that when we talk about the plastic, it must be handled by the Plastic Waste Management Act 2016, amendment in 2015 itself, and there we have introduced the concept of EPR, extended producer responsibility. Obviously, if the plastic they are being segregated, if they are being segregated at different places, then it will be collected by the producer itself, and because of this particular is being segregated. Sanitary waste, diapers, napkins, tampons, etc., securely wrapped, sent for the scientific disposal. Special care waste, household hazardous, paint bulbs, batteries, deposited at designated collection center itself. Okay. So that was the first. Second is what? Extended bulk waste generator responsibility. For example, there we have what? Extended producer responsibility. Here we have what? Extended bulk waste generator responsibility. Bulk waste generator, and it is generating 100 kgs per day. See, sometimes this is important. Okay, na? You can see that UPSC explored this type of options, and it is generating 100 kg per day, consuming 40,000 liters of water per day, or having a floor area of how much? Waste to 20,000 square kilometers. On-site processing, mandatory processing of wet waste on site itself. If not feasible, they must obtain this certificate by contracting professional process. That means what? On-site processing should be there. Okay, that means what? On-site biomethane it can be generated. Refuse derived fuel, mandatory for cement waste to energy plants to substitute 5 to 50% of the fuel with RDF, non-recyclable plastic textiles over 6 years. It's their responsibility that if the plants is there nearby, they have to use the 5 to 50%. Okay. Hilly areas and island. This point is also important. New provision allow local bodies to levy user fees on the tourist and regular tourist inflow based on the waste handling capacity. This is very much important. Okay, na? If you talk about the tourism area, their local authority, they will decide how much influx of tourists would be there, and that influx of tourists, it will be dependent upon their waste handling capacity. It should not be beyond that. Second is what? Downhill transport, strict prohibition of landfills on hills. They should what? Bring it downhill, and after that they should carry out the process. Residual waste must be transported to the plain area landfills within 25 kilometers. Okay, and that means what? Wahan pe on the surface itself, on the hill itself, we cannot go by the process, use this particular process of landfillings. Okay. Next step is what? Digital governance and online portal. To prevent invisible waste dumping, the 2026 rule introduced centralized online portal for real-time tracking, because we have discussed what? circular economy plus digital traceability. Mandatory registration, all local bodies must register on the national portal. Data depository, all monthly and annual returns regarding waste collections, processing efficiency, land uses must be filled. Traceability, every kilograms of waste, it should be what? Tracked. Landfills and legacy waste management, we have discussed, for example, of islands, we cannot go there for the purpose of landfill, it has to be brought downhill, and apart from that, it must be landfill within a radius of 25 km. Landfill restriction, only non-recyclable, non-combustible and inert waste can go to a sanitary landfill. For example, we have discussed if it is biodegradable in nature, wet, that means what? We have to produce biomethane. Higher fees, local bodies sending unsegregated waste to the landfills will face punitive landfill fees, making it cheaper and segregate them to lump. Okay, that is also based on what? Polluter pay principle. Polluter pay principle. Okay, legacy waste remediation, all existing dump sites must be geographically mapped by October 2026. Time bound biomining and bioremediation are mandatory to reclaim all dump. That means for biomining means what? We will extract the minerals out of it, and bioremediation means what? With the help of bacteria, we will degrade those. That has to be done within this time frame range. And last one is what? Enforcement and compensation. We have discussed, if these rules are not being followed, they will be what? Punitive actions it will be taken. They have to pay some compensation, and the compensation it will be based on your polluter pay principle. This is strictly enforced by rule number 17. Okay, so this is all about your. Okay, solve this question. What will be the answer? D. Use some logic. This question is based on logic. First is what? Cement plant and waste to energy plants are mandated to substitute minimum percentage of the fuel with refused derived fuel. We have discussed. This statement is true. How much they will use? 5% in 2026 and scheduled to scale up to 50% over 6 years. That statement is also true. The rules prohibit the use of RDF in any industrial unit located within 50 km of the sanctuary. Prohibit. See, when you talk about the national park, when you talk about the wildlife sanctuary, there we should go by eco-friendly process. Obviously, what eco-friendly process means? What? We will use this particular RDF. We will use bioethanol process, because when you talk about the normal in comparison to the normal fossil fuels, they will be what? Producing less carbon dioxide. है ना? Obviously, we are using bioethanol process. By blendings of bioethanol, 20% bioethanol processing is because क्योंकि क्या होगा? Their exhaust is generate 20% less carbon dioxide. RDF, all this process is what? They will generate less carbon dioxide. Obviously, when you talk about the wildlife sanctuary national park, in their vicinity, we should promote such type of process. It says what? Prohibit. So this statement will be what? Wrong. This statement क्या होगा? 1 and 2. Sometimes all the Christians you won't be aware of it, but पता होना चाहिए. Second statement. Statement 1, the 2026 rule assign the statutory responsibility to the waste collection and processing to Gram Panchayat in rural area, mirroring the duties of urban local bodies. That's true. Concept of decentralization. The centralized online portal introduced in the rules is designed to create a digital track and trace system for every kilogram of waste generated. It's also true to a statement. Both. Okay. The 2026 rules assign the statutory responsibility for waste collections and processing. See, both statements are correct, but not. Answer it will be what? B. Okay. Now, this is what we have already we have discussed lots of policies. So global plastic pollution treaty, intergovernmental negotiating committee talks to develop global plastic pollution treaty. It's been adjourned. Now global plastic treaty adopted 2026 entitled "And Plastic Pollution Towards an Internationally Legally Binding Instrument" tasked INC to develop an international legal binding instrument on plastic pollution, including marine environment, both binding and voluntary. Disagreement like-minded countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Kuwait, Bahrain, China rejected the restriction on the productions. However, highly ambitious coalitions of around 1,000 countries including, but it is what? Adjourned. Not yet in force. Go through it. Okay. Now, this is very much important. These are the types of plastics that are in the news. Okay, and some of the bacteria that seems to degrade some of the plastics. So here you can see that bacteria Ideonella secaensis, a plastic-eating bacterium capable of degrading PET, the bottles what we are using, the thick bottles, it's of what? PET, water bottles. Okay, so we have this which is widely used in the bottle and food packaging industries. Why so? As per plastic waste management rule, it should be recycled, it should be what? Degraded. So we have this particular bacteria, and if we are using this particular bacteria for the purpose of degrading, we call it as what? Bio remediation process. Is it okay? Okay, second is what? PET, polyethylene terephthalate, a polymer used for making beverage bottle, food containers. It is also recognized one of the most common polymers found in the plant tissues. Polystyrene, a polymer used in the production of disposable cutlery and cups. It is among the most common polymers found in the plant tissues. Polybutylene adipate terephthalate, a biodegradable. This is what? A biodegradable chemical-free thermoplastic copolymer made from the renewable resources like corn starch and sugarcane. Are you getting my point? So it is what? Biodegradable in nature. So you should, now it's time to implement. Presently we are focusing towards what? Presently we have PET, but it should be replaced with this. So this seems to be what? Important. Write it down. Okay, it's a what? Thermoplastic. Thermoplastic means what? There are two types of plastic, the thermosetting plastic and thermoplastic. Thermoplastic means what? On getting heat, it will become softened in nature. For example, what is the example of thermosetting plastic? Thermosetting plastic. Backlight. The switchboard, they are being made from the backlight itself. So they are your thermosetting plastic. On receiving heat also, they won't get transformed. For example, pressure cooker handles, they are your thermosetting plastic itself, but it's an example of your thermoplastic. Thermoplastic means what? On getting heat, if you bring heat near it, it will what? Shrink. It will become soft in nature. So this is what? Biodegradable thermoplastic, not thermosetting plastic. Okay. Phthalates, known as plasticizer. These orthophthalates are colorless, odorless, oily liquids. They are used in the products commonly PVC to make the material soft and less brittle in nature. So this is important. Write it down, edit. Apart from that, that bacteria, it seems to be very much important. It is in coherence with the Plastic Management Act, because they are responsible for recycling, and apart from that, they are responsible for degradation also. And you know that when you talk about the plastic, the most common plastic is what? PET itself. See, I am making you, means it takes a lot of years to come in that particular position where at least you will have the capacity that you can give, yes, there is a probability of how these questions they are being asked. मैं आपको जब पढ़ा रहा हूँ, I am teaching that particular process also, कि why this particular question is important itself. ठीक है? Now, Stockholm Convention on. Now we have a Stockholm Convention. This particular Stockholm Convention, it is based on POP. POP means what? Persistent organic pollutant. Persistent means what? It will be. Persistent means what? It is non-degradable in nature. It is long-lasting in nature. It is organic, and apart from that, there is a high tendency that it will bioaccumulate and biomagnify. For example, we have discussed the best example of what bioaccumulation, biomagnification is what? DDT. DDT, that is being used as a what? Insecticide, that is being used for the purpose of killing of mosquitoes. DDT, dichlorothiazide, but it is the best example of what? Bioaccumulation and biomagnification. You must be knowing that it is being banned under Stockholm Convention, but India is still using it. Why so? We will discuss. And there is a possibility that this time one particular question it will come from this sheet itself. So we will discuss. Write down Stockholm Convention. Why so? We will discuss. Why it is important? I will discuss. ठीक है ना? So Stockholm Convention is what? It is Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutant is an international treaty enacted in 2004 to eliminate or restrict the production or use of, to eliminate or to regulate the production of persistent organic pollutant. Membership 186 countries. India ratified in 2006 itself. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change notified the regulation of PRP rules in 2018. The chemicals targeted are listed in Annex. We have 3 Annex A, B, and C. Notable non-notifying, obviously, United States, Israel, and Malaysia. They have not ratified it. Okay. We have discussed about PO, persistent organic pollutant. If any doubt, please do intervene. Okay. Now we have 3. This is important. Please focus on my words. It's there in my notes, but please focus on my word. We have 3 annexer. Annexer A, B, and C. Annex A. It talks about the complete elimination of POP, certain chemicals. If it is being Annex A, that means what? It should be completely eliminated. You are not permitted to use it. And mostly they deal with what? Organophosphates. Mostly when you talk about the POP, they are dealing with the organophosphate. Organophosphate, they are the chemicals that are being utilized in the agriculture practices for the purpose of what? Increasing the productivity. But that seems to be what? Bioaccumulation and biomagnification. So यहाँ पे देखेंगे please. Parties must take measure to eliminate the production and use of these chemicals. For example, adrenaline, chlordane, diene, hector, and endosulfan. Clear? They are in completely in Annexer 1. That means what? We have to completely eliminate it. Annexer B, restriction is there. Production and use are restricted to a specific acceptable purpose. That means what? There will be a specific, for example, India. In the Stockholm Convention, I will be mentioning that India, lots of people, they have been dying from malaria itself, and because of that, it is very difficult for me to control the DDT unless and until I have certain alternative. So at that time, they will say that okay, I am allowing it only for the purpose of controlling malaria, but this particular DDT it should not be used for some other purpose. It's called your restriction. You are restricted. DDT used for disease vector control, malaria. India, we are still using it. Okay. Annex C, unintentional production. Parties must take measure to reduce the total release derived from the anthropogenic sources. Dioxin and furin, for example, when you talk about like incineration process, for example, we have discussed in Delhi, Noida itself, we have a garbage hill. So garbage hill, they will clear the process of incineration, burning, and plastic, they will also get burned and they will release what? Dioxin and furans. Clear? See, little bit I am fast in nature. Why so? Because it's not your foundation course, it's your prelims crash course, but everything it is there. I have prepared the notes very precise in nature. It's very interconnected. Now see, the 12th meeting was held in the Geneva, Switzerland under the theme called Make the Visible Invisible, Sound Management of the Chemical and Waste. This is the latest one. New chemicals added. Annexer A. Annexer A means what? We have to completely eliminate it. What are the new chemicals that is being added? Chlorpyrifos, a widely used hazardous pesticides. That means what? It is being used for the purpose of controlling the pest. It is being added. Long chain perfluorocarboxy acid. Industrial chemicals often used in water resistant coatings. The substance that is being made as water resistant one. They have this particular coating. So they have been made into what? Annexer way. That means what? It cannot be utilized. Medium chem chlorinated paraffins used in the flame retardant and plasticizers. All these things they have been placed into your Stockholm Convention 17th COP. So 12th meeting of this the Stockholm Convention. Now remember, write it down here. This too is important. The Stockholm Convention. ठीक है ना? This chlorpyrifos. Why? Now please. Now here you can see that this is being placed into the Annex 1 countries. That means what? It should be completely eliminated. But when it comes to India, why it is very much important? Here you can see opposition to chlorpyrifos ban. India initially opposed the inclusion of chlorpyrifos in Annexer, citing a lack of viable alternative and potential threat to the food security because they are what? Pesticides. We do not have the alternative. We do not have the other viable option. And because of that, if we completely eliminate it, what will happen? The food crop, they will be destroyed by pests, and finally we will be suffering from food insecurity. And that is why India said it, we will be restricting it to the agricultural purpose itself. That means what? India uses it in Annex. Okay? No, that is restriction, yes, Annex B itself. India eventually sought a specific exemptions for several crops like rice, sugarcane and cotton. So remember this to allow in the phase transition. India, rice, sugarcane and cotton. These are the three sectors where there is being restricted. We will be using only these three sectors. So remember this sector. If any other sector is being mentioned, that will be your wrong statement because this is being mentioned in the original document. Okay? Okay. We have DDT status. India remains the only country still producing and using DDT under Annex B for diverse vector control disease. Okay. Now we have Basel Convention on the Control of Transboundary Movement of Hazard. Basel means cell. Cell means what? Selling through the ocean movement. That means what? It deals with the movement of hazardous material from one particular position to other. Are you getting my point? Basel. Sail matlab kya? Sailing karna. Sail throughout the water. That means what? Transboundary movement. For example, America. What's say? America, China, Japan, they are known for the semiconductor based industries. Obviously, what will be happening? Now they are producing a lot of semiconductor based waste and they will be selling to African countries at a very cheaper low cost, use it for the purpose of recycling. Ultimately, उससे कुछ product का development नहीं होगा, but they are selling it. So ultimately, it's the movement of e-waste toward those, and this will be controlled by your Basel agreement. So their points is what? It is being developed in a response to the public outcry following the discovery in the 1980s in Africa and other parts of the developing countries to deposit toxic waste imported from the abroad. That means developed countries, they will be producing, and after that the toxic waste that is being generated, it will dump it into the underdeveloping countries, African countries. Because of this is the agreement. Now what we have? Prior informed consent. Before dumping it, that particular country, host country, he must be aware of it, what type of material it is. So transboundary movement only occur with the written notification and prior consent of the importing and the transit state. That means what? Can be done, but with what? Prior informed consent. Ban amendment prohibits the export of hazardous waste for final disposal or recycling from developed countries annexed to developing countries. Non-party trade restriction. Parties are generally prohibited from trading covered waste with non-party unless specific bilateral multilateral agreement. That means what? In this particular agreement, we talk about what? Prior informed consent. If it is there, they can go for it. Now waste covered, hazardous waste, clinical waste, used lead, batteries, persistent organic pollutant and various chemicals. They are being banned, or with the help of prior informed consent, it can be done. Other waste, household waste. Recent additions, plastic waste are added. Okay, and apart from that, as of January 1, e-waste, electronic and electrical waste move across the border subjected to the strict PIC procedure. PIC means what? Prior informed consent. That means what? For example, the underdeveloped countries, they will be recycling this e-waste for the development of. So obviously, uska product jo hoga, it will be very cheap in nature, but they should be informed. It should not be like that. The developed country, they will dump. So this can be done with the help of prior informed consent. New focus area, textile waste, ship breaking overlaps with the Hong Kong. Ship breaking material, it can also be what? But with the help of PIC. Exclusion, radioactive waste from the normal operations of a ship covered under by another international instrument. So they are not under this particular agreement. Okay. Now we have what? The 17th COP was held in the Geneva under the make visible things the invisible. All the same. We have discussed about this Stockholm Convention na. Usi convention with this particular convention also taken place. You can go through the theme. The theme is what? Same. So a strategic framework, a new framework was adopted to guide the implementation of the convention for the next 6 years, focusing on the circularity, improvement, the effectiveness of waste management, e-block, the e-waste breakthrough entry into force 1st January 2001. Previously, only hazardous e-waste was controlled. As of January 2025, all e-waste, both hazardous and non-hazardous, now acquires prior informed consent. Hazardous ke liye bhi, and if you are going for the purpose of development of industry, using what? the recycled e-waste, then also what PIC is being required. ठीक है ना? All means what? Even though if they are having a factory that is being used for the purpose of recycling, then also what? They will use the imported one. But unless and until, but what? There should be one criteria, PIC, prior informed consent. This is a massive shift aimed at stopping the global north from dumping near end of the life electronics in developing nations under the guise of second-hand goods. समझ में आ गया ना? Annex 4 revision updates are made to Annex 4 to provide better legal clarity on what constitute disposal operations, helping to distinguish between the legitimate recycling and illegal dumping. New technical guidelines. UP adopted the updated guidelines for the management of waste lead acid bacteria and persistent organic pollutant waste. We have discussed ना. देखिए. Okay. Now, Rotterdam Convention 1993 forced in 2000 is a legally binding United Nations Environment Program Food and Agriculture Organization Treaty promoting shared responsibility in the international trade of hazardous chemicals. It implements prior informed consent procedure to ensure developing countries can refuse imports of dangerous pesticides and industrial chemicals severely restricted by the other parties. Okay, this is under what? PIC. Prior informed consent. अगर आ रहा है, I can reject it. I do not want it. Note: radioactive material, waste, chemicals, weapons, pharmaceuticals, and food additives are not covered. Dangerous pesticides and industrial chemicals are being covered. Just remember it. I have highlighted it. India's position: India is a signatory to the convention but has not ratified it. Doesn't ban the chemical but promote what? Informed decision. This is important. Okay. Now, Minamata Convention. Now you must be knowing about the Minamata disease. Are you aware of it? Minamata disease. In the Japan, we have a Minamata Bay over there. Okay. So Japan industry, it releases what? Methyl mercury. And that methyl mercury, when it enters into the Minamata Bay, the fishes over there, this methyl mercury there is what? They will undergo the process of bioaccumulation and biomagnification. So ultimately, what the pollutant that is being released into the bay itself, it is being taken by the small fishes, bioaccumulated, and finally it is being taken by the bigger fishes, and finally those bigger fishes, they were taken by the local populations over there. Okay, and because of that, this Minamata Convention is there to control the release of mercury, to control the release of anthropogenic mercury, not natural one. Okay, this is Minamata Convention. This convention does not cover mercury release naturally, but such as from volcanoes, it mainly focuses on the human-made pollution, target reduction, phasing out or phasing down mercury used in the products like switches, lamp, cosmetic process, mining and the waste, a ban on the new mercury mines, the phase out of the existing one, and regulation. So here you can see what it's clearly mentioned: a ban on the new mercury mine. Measures to control emissions to air released to land water, particularly from the coal fire plants and industrial boilers. Implementation as of 2020, it has over 130 parties, including India. India ratified in 2018, focusing on the reducing mercury use and manufacturing waste. The convention is supported by UNEP, United Environmental Program, holds regular conference of the parties to assess progressively with a focus on protecting vulnerable pollution. Because why? Because the mercury, it is what? It is long lasting in nature. It can accumulate into the fat tissue. That means what? It can undergo the process of bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Okay. Now this is important. Write it down. Conference of Party 6 to the Minamata Convention. Write it down. Okay. And write down this statement. This statement is very much important because it's when you go to the site of Minamata Convention itself, on the top itself you will see this. I have taken Minamata Convention on mercury. You can see, okay, na? On the top it is what mentioned over here. But if you go to the different magazines, okay, na? So here you can see, that is why it's important. The Conference of Party 6 to the Minamata Convention, mercury was recently in Geneva. Key outcomes: signatory nations agreed to phase out mercury-based dental amalgams by 2034. We know that when for the purpose of dental fillings, we use the amalgams, and that amalgams is made from mercury. ठीक है ना, fillings. agreed to set up global efforts to eliminate mercury added skin lightening products. ठीक है ना? This is important. Strengthen action on artisanal and small scale gold mining. Okay, when you talk about the Amazon forest, here you can see that from science to action protecting Amazon forest from mercury pollution, because when you talk about the Amazon forest, they have good amount of gold minings. And now this conference of party, it actually looks at what the gold minings, illegal gold mining that is being carried on the Amazon forest. Under this, on the paper itself, we said that this artisanal small scale gold mining, it should be what? Controlled or regulated. Because of that, it will be directly talking about what? Controlling the illegal actions in Amazon and forest. So in the site, it's written from science to action of protecting the Amazon from mercury pollution. Okay? And this statement, it will be what? Very much important. Okay. So we have already discussed. Now let us discuss some of the pollutant that is there to know. We have already discussed about ground level ozone itself, how it is being created. So Central Pollution Control Board report found Delhi NCR to be the worst impacted the high ozone pollution, followed by Mumbai metropolitan region. So highest concentration is for your Delhi, and final second we have what? For Mumbai. Safe 8 hours ozone standard is how much? 80 micrograms per cubic meter, while 1 hour is how much? 180 micrograms per millimeter. Okay. Now toxic heavy elements. A study by Bose Institute, Kolkata, under the Department of Science and Technology, shattered the myth of clean mountain and found toxic heavy elements pollution in the Himalaya more pronounced in the eastern Himalayas. We have what? Toxic heavy pollution over there. What are heavy elements? And characteristic high atomic number in between the range of 63.5 to 200. Density, zinc, copper, cadmium, cobalt, arsenic, lead. These are what your heavy metals. Comprises of 50 elements on periodic table. Heavy metals, metalloids are non-degradable and accumulations over decadal time scales. They can accumulate. Here you can see the pollution because of heavy pollution, because of heavy metal pollution. Okay. So toxic heavy metals naturally occurring in the earth crust. Okay. Sources of pollution: bedrocks, soil parent materials. For example, when you talk about like when your ground table is decreasing, obviously the concentration of this heavy metal, they will increase. Suppose this is your ground table, suppose this is the bedrock, and suppose this is the water level. If it is like this, the water level will decrease. So what will happen? They will continuously strike on this bedrock, and because of this, the concentration of heavy metals, it will increase in your water. Groundwater table, if decreases, what will happen? Concentration of heavy metals in groundwater will increase. Water will what? Increase. ठीक है ना? Atmospheric transportation of volcanic emissions and wind erosion. Metal-based industrial activities like smelting, mining, foundries, leaching of metals, agriculture, irrigation, phosphorus fertilizers, etc. impact cadmium, a potential human carcinogen, kidney and bone damage, lung cancer, lead development of neurological behavior effect in fetus. Arsenic, heavy toxic in organic form, long-term exposure can impact cognitive development, cause cancer, skin lesions, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes. Okay. Per and polyfluoroalkyl substance, PFS. Okay. So this is under your what? This is banned under your, this is banned under the Stockholm Convention. It is placed in what? Annex A. Researchers discovered nearly 20 species of bacteria capable of breaking down this particular chemical. That means what? This particular bacteria, they can go for bioremediation technique. chemicals having carbon fluorine bond which are very strong and do not degrade easily. They can resist grease, oil, water and heat. For example, the frying pan we are using for the purpose of frying, they also contain this chemical. Application: cookware, food packaging, food processing equipment, fabrics, paints, foams. Impact: persist in the environment, known for forever chemicals. Why? Because this carbon fluorine bond, they cannot degrade, they will be persisting in the ecosystem for a longer period of time. Contaminating air, water, soil, bioaccumulates in human and animal. This is the first criteria. Why? Because they belongs to what? What I have written over there. It has been completely banned under Stockholm Convention Annex 1. That means what? It's a persisting organic pollutant. They persist in the ecosystem for a longer period of time. Why? So because the bond, it's very difficult to break. And apart from that, they can go for bioaccumulation and biomagnification. PFS like perfluorooctane sulfonic acid, perfluorooctanic acid, listed under Stockholm Convention for static organisms, their productions are used and restricted to and eliminated by parties. Okay. Concerns associated with the use of PFS found in the blood of people and animals, obviously because they can go for bioaccumulation and biomagnification. High exposure associated with the health risks like decreased fertility, developmental effects in children, interference with blood body hormones. Why I am laughing? Okay. What is the reason? We have discussed the process of what? What we have discussed? Homeostasis process. That means what? A stable equilibrium is maintained. Now whatever we are taking, ultimately they affect the fertility. And what is the main issue? The main issue is what? The high population itself, the population growth itself. Slowly and gradually what? The population growth, it will decrease. धीरे धीरे करके the world population is around, suppose consider 850 crore. After 100 years, it will decrease to 150 crore, something like that. It's धीरे धीरे the things will get stable. Decreased fertility, developmental effects in children, interference with the body hormones, increased cholesterol levels, liver damage, kidney, testicular cancers, difficult to capture and destroy, and because of this they belongs to what? POP. Measures to reduce PFS contamination: safe disposal of PFS, including methods like filtration through activated carbon tanks and incineration process. Phasing out PFS listed under the Stockholm Convention and replace them with the safety alternatives. Avoid PFS based non-sticky pens and kitchen utensils. Okay. Green firecrackers, it's always there into the news. Why? It is being famous for Delhi itself to control the pollution over there, but the Delhi people, they will still go on cracking it. So easing temporarily the blanket bans on firecrackers in Delhi. A Supreme Court allowed the use of government approval green crackers devoid of harmful chemicals and reducing air pollution. About green crackers: low thermite content, minimum usage of aluminum, does not contain barium substance used in firecrackers to add green color. ठीक है ना? Uses what? Potassium nitrate oxidant. Benefit: reduce at least 30% emissions using particulate matter. Identification and certification by CSR NERI logo developed by CSR NERI. First introduced Arjun Gopal versus Union of India judgment that banned the conventional firecracker. It is banned on the paper itself. I belong to Delhi, but still these things are going on. I do not have the problem if I see in the YouTube also. जजमेंट चल रहा है वहां पे. चलो ठीक है. These are the three types. Just read it: Swas, Star, and Shuffle. Just go through it. Okay. Taj, trapezium, zone. So Supreme Court directed NERI, the National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, to assess the impact of neighboring glass industry on Taj Mahal itself. SC in past issued order from time to time for Taj. TTZ for complete ban of coal industries in TTZ 1996. And location क्या है? 10,400 square kilometer area, shaped like a trapezoid around Taj Mahal for the preventing its pollution. Covered how much? 3 World Heritage sites: Taj Mahal, Agra Fort, and Fatehpur Sikri. Taj trapezium zone pollution, it is Prevention and Control Authority, and it is being developed under the Environmental Protection Act 1996. Categories of industries: red, green, orange, and white, based on their pollution potential. They are defined by the Central Pollution Control Board. Okay, this is the, here you can say this is what a shape of a trapezoid itself. Now e-flow means what? Environmental flow. So Union Jal Shakti Minister led the meeting focused on e-flow for Ganga river and its tributaries. That means what? How much e-flow, how much amount of water it is being required to be in the river, so that what the different biodiversity it can survive over there, and apart from that, how much water it is being essential for the people dependent on the river itself. That is called your e-flow. Refers to the quantity, timing and quality of water flow required to sustain freshwater ecosystem and livelihood that depend upon them. Benefits: maintain ecological integrity of rivers and their estuaries. Extensive intervention in river flow like construction of dams, pollutions and encroachment have severely impacted ecological balance of the river. Why this thing is developed? Because we construct the dam, and because of the construction of them, what will happen? The all maximum water they will be held in the dam itself, and because of that e-flow is being affected. And since the e-flow is being affected, what will happen? The water, the river itself, so carrying capacity it is there, but it is holding less water, and uske karan se kya, the livelihood of the people are being affected, and because of that we have introduced the concept of e-flow. Okay. Now annual update of the air quality life index. Air quality life index, that means what? When you talk about the air quality, how it is impacting the life expectancy. Okay. So developer, this is Michael Greenstone and other at Energy Policy Institute at University of Chicago, measure the impact of particulate air pollution on life expectancy. Highlights air pollution meeting WHO guidelines could extend Indian resident lives by 3.5 years on average. That means what? If air pollutions, if they're within what? Safe limit, if they're within the limit that is provided by the WHO, what will happen? The average expectancy will increase by 3.5 years, with Delhi seeing 8.2 years. That means what? Delhi pollution, if they have been within the limit itself, the expectancy will increase by 8.2 years. South Asia continues to be the world's most polluted region. Delhi is known for pollution. Okay. So this is what we have completed till now. We have completed air pollutions. We have completed what? Montreal Protocol, Kigali Agreement. We have completed what? We have completed plastic waste management tools, solid waste management tools. What? Also, we have completed all sort of waste, like we have Stockholm Conventions, Basel Conventions, Rotterdam Conventions, and their latest DC. Now moving towards the water pollution. Apart from that, we have covered also all the integrated things itself. Water pollutions. So water pollution means what? For example, when you talk about like carbon dioxide sequestration capacity, obviously the water also is what? When you talk about the oceanic water, they do have this capacity. They can hold the, they're responsible for sequestration of the carbon dioxide. But if they, and apart from that, they have the buffering capacity also, so that what they can maintain the pH level. But you can see that because of the deforestation, excess amount of carbon dioxide release, and because of that, the carbon dioxide assimilation process and the ocean it is going to increase, and that leads to what? Ocean acidification. That means what? The pH is moving toward the acidic side. And if the ocean get acidic in nature, what will happen? When you talk about like coral reefs, they contain what? Calcium carbonate. They for the purpose of maintaining the calcium carbonate, they require a bit of what? pH that is moving toward the alkaline nature. So obviously, what if ocean is moving toward the ocean acidification? Coral reefs, they will what? Become unstable in nature. Is it okay? This is water pollution. Now, how to measure? So, how to measure the water quality? When you talk about the water quality, they are being monitored with the help of dissolved oxygen. For example, if the dissolved oxygen content is very good, that means what? The water quality is very good in nature. Are you getting my point? If the dissolved oxygen is very good, that means what? Dissolved oxygen hai. The water quality has been dependent upon the dissolved oxygen. Just recall the concept of eutrophication. Please, eutrophication we have discussed. Due to the excessive use of nitrogen-based fertilizers, what will happen? The runoff of the fertilizer, they are responsible for eutrophication. The algal bloom, it will increase. It is going to completely cover the pond, and because of that, the photic zones they will get reduced. The light it won't penetrate, and because of that, the fishes residing over there they will start dying. And now to degrade it, what will happen? The bacteria they will use the oxygen, dissolved oxygen, and because of that, the dissolved oxygen will what? Dissolved oxygen will decrease. For example, we have discussed the Gulf of Mexico dead zone region. Because of the excessive use of the fertilizer, there is a dead zone created because the fishes they are dying completely. So what does it mean? The dissolve, if you have the good quality of dissolved oxygen, वो ज़्यादा है, that means the water quality is what, very good. But if the dissolved oxygen is very less, if in the hypoxic condition, that means the water quality is what, very bad. So that is being measured with the help of two: BOD, biological oxygen demand, and what, COG, chemical oxygen demand. Biological oxygen demand. Suppose this is a pond, and if the biological oxygen demand is more, what does it mean? That the pond have more number of degradable materials. Lot of fishes they have died. Now it has to be what? It requires a lot of oxygen for the purpose of degradation. And there is a what? Chemical oxygen demand. Chemical oxygen demand means what? Now that particular pond, it has organic matter also and inorganic matter also. And for the degradation of those what we need oxygen. Since inorganic matter also, we call it as what? Chemical oxygen demand. So when you talk about the how to ascertain whether the water quality is good or bad, so the best approach is what? Chemical oxygen demand. Okay? It's written in your notes. Okay. For example, industrial causes and heavy metals, petroleum, paper, metal extraction, chemical industry discharge toxic substance, iron the most common contaminant in the surface water as per CWC report. Mining uses cyanide, sulfuric acid, mercury, causes massive soil erosion. Long-term exposure, we will suffer from this Alzheimer, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. Now, for example, heavy metal related disease, if in the water there is a lead content, what will happen? Lead, anemia, target blood, this thing, mercury, Minamata disease. Central nervous system, why Minamata disease? Because suppose we have discussed about the mercury pollution. Mercury, if it is in the water, what will happen? It will go for the process of bioaccumulation. It will be entered in our tissues, and finally what will happen? It's going to combine with the hemoglobin. It is going to combine with the hemoglobin, and in that combined form, it will start moving to our cells. Now this hemoglobin, it has been designed to combine with the oxygen, oxyhemoglobin format. Now it is moving in the form of methyloglobin, and because of that, we won't have the cellular expression, and because of that, the person, he will be looking a little bit bluish in color. So it causes what? Blue baby syndrome. ठीक है ना? Cadmium, itai, bones and kidney. Itai is Japanese, as it hurts due to bone softening caused by cadmium. Arsenic, Blackfoot disease, peripheral vessels. Fluoride, knock-knee syndrome, skeletal system and C and teeth. Okay, arsenic and fluoride hot spot. Arsenic and, for example, if we talk about Indo-Gangetic plains, where there we have what? The higher concentration of fluorine, and because of that, the persons over there, they have been suffering from fluorosis. That means the teeth jo hai unka, they have become weak. So arsenic is tasteless, odorless, carcinogen. While arsenic is naturally occurring, it also comes in the inorganic human formulas used in the agriculture, mining and manufacturing. Chronic exposure to arsenic causes Blackfoot disease, a peripheral vascular disease in which the blood vessels in lower limbs are severely damaged, resulting in the progressive gangrene. Okay. Fluorosis is a common problem in India due to the intake of high fluoride content water. For example, it is on the Indo-Gangetic plains. Okay. Excessive fluoride intake causes neuromuscular disorder, gastrointestinal problem, teeth deformity, hardening of bones, stiff painful joints, pain in the bones and joints, and outward bending of legs from the knee is called what? Knock-knee syndrome. Okay. This is a uranium and radioactive radon. Uranium contamination, where it is in the northwest Rajasthan, alluvial aquifers, south Telangana, granite crystalline rocks. And why it is being generated? Uranium content because of over extraction of groundwater. Okay. Effect, chronic heat toxicity, and apart from that, uranium is what? It is carcinogenic in nature. In nature, that means what? It will cause cancer. Most of the times, they are in find this particular regions, they are famous for your what? Mining process. Mining. They are famous for mining. So obviously, जहाँ पे क्या होगा? जहाँ पे mining होगा, this in that particular region, the groundwater, it will be contaminated with the uranium or over exploitation. For example, if in the other region, if there is a radioactive metals in that particular region, if you go for the extraction of groundwater, and if the groundwater table depletes, what will happen? Uranium concentration in that groundwater, it will increase. Okay. Radon exposure detected recently in the Bengaluru groundwater. Radon in air water leads to lung cancer. Uranium in water leads to kidney cancers. Am I fast? These things here we do not have much explanatory concepts are there. Where I feel that explanatory concepts are there, I have to go in detail. It's there into the notes. Thermal and radiation pollution. The thermal shock, cooling water from the power plant raised temperature from 5 to 15 degrees. Sudden rise kills the fish adapted by the steady temperature. For example, if there is a power plant, in the power plant, what we use cooling tower. This cooling tower, it is being used for the purpose of cooling the water. Now the water that is being cooled, obviously it will raise the temperature. If it is being directly released into the pond, what will happen? It is going to raise the water. It is going to, and you must be knowing that when the temperature of the water is being released, what will happen? The dissolved oxygen content decreases, and because of the dissolved oxygen content, what will happen? The feces will, in the hypoxic condition, will start dying. ठीक है ना? Radiation leak, for example, nuclear accident, Fukushima, tsunami events, radioactive iodine targets thyroid cancers, thyroid glands causing cancers. Other is what? Invasive aquatic species. We have discussed about the aquatic species. Now see the, for example, disrupt ecosystem by out competing native species. For example, water hyacinth. It is famous for what? Terror of Bengal. It is famous for what? Eutrophication with little uses of nitrogen-based product like fertilizers. What will happen? It will completely cover the pond. Okay, because of eutrophication. Other is what? Fog, fenwort, salvinia, hydrilla water lectures. Okay, eutrophication we have discussed. It's there in your notes. Go through it. Okay, now eutrophication, the death of a lake. Here we have what? 3 types of lakes are there. First is what? Oligotrophic. Oligotrophic means what? Here nutrient level is very low. That means what? It is very good in nature. And apart from that, if nutrient level is very good in nature, that means what? We will have proper photic zone and we will have proper dissolved oxygen over there. And because of this, the biodiversity of the pond, it will be maintained. Okay. Species cold water. Okay. Now mesotrophic. Mesotrophic means what? There we have moderate. That means what? Little than the higher level of nutrient content, particularly what? Nitrogen and phosphorus. So this water, it will be clear, crystal clear, but here it will be what? Slightly cloudy. Algal growth minimum, but here it will be like moderate. Oxygen level lowers at the bottom. Diverse silt, but when you talk about the eutrophic region, what we will have? Nutrient level is very high, and because of that, turbid water, it will be suffering from algal bloom, and because of that, the oxygen concentration, it will be very low. Hypoxic conditions. Only what will happen? This particular fish variety, it will survive. Warm water, bass and carp. Now blue tide recently seen in the Mumbai Juhu beach. This is the process of what? Bioluminescence, and this is being caused. What is the reason? Because of excessive release of nitrogen-based fertilizers over there. This is the concept of what? Bioluminescence. So here you can see the recent blue glow on Mumbai beaches is caused by a phenomena called bioluminescence, primarily driven by phytoplankton species, Noctilucus scintillans. See a sparkle. Why? Because see, in the beginning, what we have only few populations over there, but because of eutrophication, but because of the release of excessive fertilizers over there, the population what? Increases, and because of that, now what happened? They have this particular species, the organism contain a light emitting molecule called luciferin, an enzyme called luciferase. Trigger the physical disturbance like crashing waves of footsteps, triggers a chemical reaction that releases neon blue flash. So earlier what? The population was very much limited in number, but presently what? Because of the excessive release of fertilizers, nitrogen fertilizers, the population what? It has increased, and now these beaches, they are being completely covered with this particular phytoplanktons. Obviously the waves, it will be disturbing it, and because of the disturbance, what? They will release this particular chemicals, and it's the sea stream to be what? Bluish in color. So it's a bioluminescence process, but the major factor that is responsible for is what? It's a eutrophication only, the excessive release of fertilizers. Okay. So reason of recent sighting is your Eutrophication, high nutrient level from untreated sewage and agricultural runoff from rapid plankton bloom. Climate change, rising sea temperature favors the growth of Noctiluca over healthy planktons. Oceanic conditions, changes in the wind patterns, current, oxygen depletions. Okay. So pollution in river Ganga. So when you talk about the microplastic, these are the different microplastic that is being seen in your Ganga. For example, ethylene vinyl is particularly suited for food, drugs, and cosmetic packaging. Polycetylene is used in doping agents in the electronic industries. Polypropylene is used for the packaging plastic sheets, fiber, fabrics, ropes. Persistent inorganic pollutant is mainly used in footwear and baby foot nipples. Polyamide, commonly known as the nylon, is used in the natural fibers, metal wire, and the clothing. All this type of microplastic is being what found in your. These are the plastic that is released into the Ganga water, but because of the UV radiation, they are being degraded into the microplastic. We have discussed about the ocean acidification process. We have discussed the key effects. It's there. Okay. We'll take a gap of 2 minutes. After that, again, we can start. $50 more pages to go. Revise कर लीजिए, just take 2 minutes to revise it, think of it, what we have discussed. अयान, समझ में आ रहा है आपको? अभी तो सिंपल है. Practice the questions, okay? If possible, when this environment subject is completed, please try to solve a sectional test, because the questions what we are practicing, it's from the dynamic portion, it's from the current portion itself. Just practice one sectional test. Maximum. Or approximately, suppose if 15 questions are being asked, there is hardly 2 to 3 questions it will from the static section, but 12 questions they will be asking from the current affair itself. But in those 12 questions, if you see, in every statement, suppose 4 questions are being asked, 1.5 of the statement, 50% of the statement, they will have this particular static component. And that is why it seems to be very much important. If you're not aware of biological oxygen demand, chemical oxygen demand, do you think the questions can be solved? I think with this classes, all sort of basic fundamental concept has been conveyed. Now we have to cover what conference of parties, and there are certain international agreements are there that we have to discuss. Okay. Now bioremediation, all of you are aware of it. Bioremediation is what? Bioremediation is a process in which the biodegradable component, they can be degraded with the help of bacteria or fungi. That means the biological organism they will use for the purpose of your bioremediation process itself. Okay. The process of bioremediation can be monitored indirectly by measuring the oxidative reduction potential or redox in the soil or groundwater together with pH, temperature, oxygen content. For example, you must be knowing that bacteria, if they go for the process of degradation, what will happen? They will use the oxygen over there. So obviously, what their capacity, it can suppose that there is a certain degradable material, so you can ascertain what is the biological oxygen demand over there. Is it? Okay, key bacteria used for the bioremediation in India include hydrogen degrading bacteria, that means hydrocarbons. For example, oil vapor, you must have studied about the oil vapor bacteria. It's a famous oil vapor bacteria that is used for the purpose of what? Bioremediation of oil spillage. If in the oceans, you must be knowing that. For example, when you talk about the Jamnagar, RL, Reliance Industry Limited, it used to bring oils, hydrocarbons from Central Asia itself, from Gulf countries. Now, Persian Gulf, suppose while transporting there is this oil spillage. Oil spillage, what will happen? Oil spillage, it will completely cover the water, and because of that, the photic zone, it will be destroyed, and because of that, the feces living over there will get degraded. So now what they will do? They will spray the oil vapor bacteria over there. Now when you talk about the bacteria, they will replicate very fastly, and this oil vapor bacteria, they will convert this hydrocarbon back into the carbon dioxide and water. Is it okay? This is the oil vapor. Another is what? Pseudomonas putida, Bacillus cept, Acintobacter are used to clean oil spillage petroleum refinery soil, targeting the aliphatic and aromatic carbons, hydrocarbons. Heavy metal resistant strains, Bacillus cereus, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and Actinotrophomonas are utilized to remediate toxic heavy metals. Engineered microbes, engineered means what? They are genetically modified one. Genetically engineered strains such as Acintobacter sp. BS3C2 are developed for higher efficiency in degrading aromatic hydrocarbons. So they will degrade the complete aromatic hydrocarbons. Okay. Now see, we have discussed about chloropyrifos. We have discussed in the Stockholm Convention, they are being placed into Annex A, but restricted India ke liye. Now here you can see why I said that is important. Context: researchers have reported the presence of naturally occurring chloropyrifos resistant bacteria E. coli and Pseudomonas flourishing in the environment of Kashmir Valley. So in the environment of Kashmir Valley, this particular bacteria, it is there. This is a what? Organophosphorus insecticide widely used in this region. The findings, according to the researcher, could lead to the use of microbial system removal of pollutants from the contaminant. That means for this particular two type of bacteria, they have the tendency that they can degrade this particular chemical. ठीक है ना? Where? In the Kashmir Valley region itself, Dal Lake. Okay. Now this is the list. Okay. Now bioremediation. Bioremediation is what? Bacteria will, it's going to degrade the pollutant. So obviously when the bacteria will degrade the pollutant, what it requires? Oxygen, and because of that, what happens? The biological oxygen demands becomes very much high, and oxygen concentration, it will decrease. So first is what? Bioventing. Injecting air, oxygen into the unsaturated zone to stimulate aerobic bacteria. We will what? Inject the air because of that, so that the what? Bioremediation process, it will start. A targeted pollutant, petroleum hydrocarbons, highly effective for the fuel related spills. We have biosparging, injecting pressurized air, oxygen below the water table to increase groundwater. Suppose when you talk about the water table, when it is being contaminated, we go for the process of biosparging. We move the pressurized oxygen over there. Because of the oxygen, what will happen? This bacteria, they will start degrading it. We have bioaugmentation, adding a specific lab-grown super microbes. Bioaugmentation, augmentation means what? In addition, that means what? Genetically modified bacteria, it will be used for the purpose of degradation. Synthetic chemicals. Biostimulation, adding nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, electrons donor to feed native microbes. Targeted pollution, nitrates, heavy metals, enhances the natural cleanup tube. We have phytoremediation. Phytoremediation means what? Phyto means what? Plant. So using aquatic plants like hyacinth to absorb, concentrate, to degrade the pollutant, we have certain plants that is responsible for extraction of the mineral that is being used for the purpose of, they will extract the metals, they will extract heavy metals from the water. That is called a process of what? Phytoremediation. Heavy metals, excess nutrients. permeable reactive barriers, creating a wall of reactive materials like iron and mulch that filters water as it flows through. Now, XC2 bioremediation test. The remediation technique what we have discussed, it's what in situ. That means what we will carrying out in the site itself. Now, XC2 means what? That contaminated thing, it will be taken out, it will be taken somewhere where we will go for the process of bioremediations. So, we have land farming, contaminated soil is excavated, spread over a prepared bed and periodically tilled. So, what we will do when we will do it, what will happen? The oxygen concentration, it will increase, and because of that, what will happen? Degradation of pollutant, it will take place. Composting mixed contaminated soil with non-hazardous organic amendment to promote thermophilic microbial activity, and because of that, what will happen? The bacteria population will increase, and because of that, they will what? They will go for the process of remediation. Biopiles, excavated soils is piled up into heaps with irrigations and irrigation system to stimulate aerobic degradations. Bioreactors, contaminated water or soil slurry is treated in an enclosed container with optimized pH, temperature and nutrient, where complex industrial reflex toxic solvent extremely fast. So bioreactors, they are being used in your bigger industries. Okay. This is your phytoremediation. Phytoremediation is what? We are using the plant for the purpose of degradation, for the purpose of degradation of toxic metal. For example, water hyacinth, phytoextract heavy metal. So when you talk about the water hyacinth, that is called the terror of Bengal. It's an invasive species. Where it is there, it is responsible for extraction of heavy metals. Eucalyptus absorbs surplus wastewater ponds rapidly. Indian mustard filters lead from the soil. Filters lead from the soil. Sunflower filters heavy metal. So this is the list. For example, phytoremediation techniques for water pollution. Phytoextraction. Extraction means what? To extract. Root absorbs metal and move them to the harvestable shoots and leaves. For example, what are the metals? Lead, cadmium, zinc. Indian master, alpines, sunflower, they are responsible for what? Phytoextraction. They will extract the minerals. Phytodegradation. Phytodegradation means what? They will degrade the metals. Internal plant enzymes break down organic toxins into simpler molecules. Herbicide, pesticide and chlorinated solvent. So phytoremediation is what? It is going to degrade the organic pollutant. Poplar trees, rhizofiltration. Rhizo means what? Roots. Submerged root absorb pollutant on the surface and into the soil. Heavy metals rated, example, water hyacinth. Phytovolatilization, that means what? The roots, they are going to absorb the metals, and finally what? They will be escaping into the atmosphere. This has been done by poplar canola plants. Rhizodegradation, symbiosis, root exudates sugar, feeds microbes that digest the pollutant. Petroleum hydrocarbons, mulberry, grasses, legumes, etc. Okay. Now this is important, right? With coastal regulation zones. This is important. Coastal regulation zones. Okay. I did on 2026 prelims written. Okay. See. Coastal regulation zones. Coastal regulation zone regulates the activities along what is the coastal zone? 7,500 kilometers to protect its fragile ecosystem. Okay. The coastal regulations zone refer to a set of regulations enforced by the government of India to protect, conserve coastal areas and their coastal ecosystem. The regulations intended to balance development with environmental protection. Development, that means what? We have to protect the ecologically fragile area. Along with that, we have to promote ecotourism. Protection of fragile zone. Along with that, we have to promote ecotourism. ठीक है ना? Under Section 3 of the Environmental Protection Act 1986 of India, coastal regulation zones were notified in 1991 for the first time for the regulation of activities of coastal Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Okay. So here coastal regulations on presently coastal regulations on 1. It talks about ecological sensitive area. For example, when you have in the coastal areas, what we have? we have mangroves, we have estuaries. So that belongs to what? Ecologically sensitive area. Do you think? So obviously what there we should not have any sort of developmental activity, such like that. So we have the chart over here. This chart is very much important. Okay, here you can see. This chart is very much important. If any sort of question it will be asked, each and everything it's mentioned over here. We have what? Coastal regulation zone 1. It is what? Ecologically very much sensitive. So here we have two criteria. 1A, ecologically sensitive zone. Mangroves, corals, turtle nesting and grounds. Turtle nesting grounds. They are your what? Ecologically sensitive area. 1B, intertidal zone, between low tide level to what? High tide level. High tide level, low tide level. ठीक है ना? Now activities in this ecologically sensitive area, it is very much sensitive in nature. Prohibited. Most new constructions, they are what? Prohibited. Permitted. Atomic energy projects, defense, roads on stilts, salt harvesting and desalination plants. Remember it. UPSC can, now we will consider what? It's a highly ecological sensitive area, so all sort of developmental activities, it will be what? Restricted over there, but no new construction. But apart from that, what is being permitted? The government, like atomic energy project, it will be directly under the central government. Defense, roads and stilts, salt harvesting, obviously this is a what? Salt harvesting and desalination plant. First is what? First is for defense related, and second is for your what? Salt harvesting. Defense related and बस ठीक है. Second, coastal regulation zone, developed urban areas within municipal limits already substantial built up है. So here we have what? Floor space index area. Restriction from 1991 were removed. Now government by current town planning norms, construction permitted on the landward side of the existing roads. Permitted, but what? Temporary infrastructures can be developed for ecotourism. ठीक है ना? Okay. Now, coastal regulation zone 3. It's a what? Rural areas. Now, rural areas, relatively undistributed rural stretches and small town are divided into two subcategories, A and B. For example, coastal regulation the third A. देखिए इसमें कुछ नहीं कर सकते. You have to remember it. You have to what? Remember it. Third A. Densely populated. What? When the density is greater than 2160 square kilometer per square kilometer. No developmental zone reduced from 200 meter to 50 meter from the high tide level. Okay, that means what? For the promotion of ecotourism, earlier the restriction is how much? 200 meter. We have no developmental zone. No developmental zone means what? It's not like that we cannot go for the development of activities. We will develop, but all those development it will be your ecotourism, for the promotion of ecotourism. ठीक है ना? So here what? From 200 to we have reduced to how much? 50 for the promotion of tourism. 3B is sparsely populated when the density is less than 216 square kilometer. Remains 200 meters from the high tide level. Here क्या है यहाँ? It remains 200 meters from the high tide level. Okay. ठीक है. Now coastal regulations and 4 water areas. 4A, low tide level to 12 nautical miles. We are moving towards the water. यहाँ पे क्या होगा तो? If you are moving towards the water, obviously what? Traditional fishing activities. Traditional fishing by the local communities allowed. No untreated sewage or solid waste disposal permitted. Sewage treatment plant is not being permitted. 1B, tidal influence water bodies. Now, these are the facts you have to remember. No developmental zones for island. We have what? We are talking about the islands. Islands में क्या होना चाहिए? Uniform 20 meter, no development only spirit. That means what? For every sort of islands up to 20 meters, it will be considered as what? No developmental zones. Close to the mainlands. Clearance streaming. 1 to 4 projects required clearance from MF. If you talk about the, for example, one more thing. For example, suppose we have seen that in ecologically sensitive zone 1, what is being permitted? Nuclear power plant is being permitted, but if nuclear power plant is being permitted for that particular purpose, we have to go for what? Environmental assessment. Environmental impact assessment is has to be carried out. And under environmental impact assessment, it is being assessed that yes, it permits the development of nuclear power plant over there, then we can go. For example, the question can be framed that under coastal regulation zone 1, each and every place this nuclear power plant can be developed. No, it's a statement. It will, because it depends upon the environmental impact assessment. If environmental impact assessment is being carried out, if they say that this particular place we can develop, then only. So, okay. 2 and 3 powers are delegated to the State Coastal Zone Management Authority. Tourism infrastructure, temporary tourism facilities like cycles, toilets, changing rooms are now permitted in no development zone of. What is being permitted? No development zone. This thing is permitted with a minimum setback of 10 meters from the HTL. That means what? At least we should not enter in the 10 meter from the high tide level. Pollution abatement, sewage treatment plants are now permitted activity in 1B to address the discharge of untreated. Okay, 1B, where this is what 4 in the water bodies. Okay, this is your what 1B. Here we are talking about that sewage treatment plant can be developed. Okay, so this coastal regulations, tomorrow we will practice some of the questions from the coastal regulations. Okay. Biomedical waste management in India. So India expanding healthcare system generates a large quantity of biomedical waste every day from hospital, clinics, laboratories, vaccination pump and home healthcare services. So we have this biomedical waste management rules. So under this, now presently it covers what? Vaccination camps also, because in the vaccination camps lots of vaccines जो बच जाता है, syringes they are being left, so how it will be discarded, so it will be dealt with this biomedical rule itself. Blood donation camps, surgical camps, waste segregation reduced from 10 to 4 categories: yellow, red, white and blue. Now we have 4 categories for the purpose of what? Management of waste belonging to biomedical waste. How much? पहले कितना था? 10. Chlorinated plastic phase out. Chlorinated plastic bags, globes, blood bags are phased out to reduce dioxin and furans emission. Barcode system, mandatory barcode waste bags, containers for tracking them. Already हर जगह क्या है? It's moving towards circular economy as well as digital traceability. Pre-treatment, mandatory on-site disinfections, sterilization of laboratory and microbiological waste. Emission stricter standards for incinerator regarding dioxin, furans and particulate matter. Storage time, untreated waste cannot be stored beyond 48 hours. Responsibility, healthcare facilities must provide training and immunization to workers. Okay. Now we have seen that. Now color coding rules, earlier we have 10, but presently how much we have? 4. For example, yellow color. This is important for your prelims. Okay, this is important for your prelims. If the questions can be explored, it can be asked so that what the student get confused over here. Okay, so yellow color, contaminated waste, soiled human anatomical, microbiological waste, soiled linens. Okay, human anatomicals, that means what? Blood sample and all those things. Clear now? It will belong to yellow category. Red, contaminated waste, recycled like tubing, bottles and globes, they are belongs to red. White, translucent waste, sharp needles and scalpels. Blue, broken glasses, metallic body, implants. Key agencies, radioactive waste, hazardous chemical waste and municipal solid waste are to cover under separate regulations. So please do remember it. Okay, now this is important. Okay, now we'll talk about the biofuels. What are biofuels? Biofuels, that means what? When the fuels they are being generated from the biological organisms first, or plants, or from the fossil itself, that is called your biofuels itself. Okay, so for examples of biofuels include solid like wood manure, liquid bioethanol, biodiesel, gaseous means biogas. Biofuels, when you compare with the conventional fuels, what happens? Biofuels जो है, it emit less amount of carbon dioxide. For example, just a moment. Is it visible, this chart? Look at your notes. Is it visible? Okay. So we'll discuss the, for example, biofuels. So first of all, we have the first generation biofuels. First generation biofuels, for example, these biofuels, it can be generated with the help of soya beans, sugar cane and maize. Okay, this is called the first generation biofuels. But after this, what, there was a debate regarding what food insecurity. That means what, if you'll be using this food for the purpose of generation of biofuels, obviously in the coming future we will be suffering from food insecurity. We do not have enough food to feed the population, but we are using it for the purpose of what, fuels. And because of that, now we have moved towards second generation. So here also carbon emission was high, carbon dioxide emissions was there, emission was there. Okay, advantage, cost of advantage, disadvantage, food versus fuel, high land use and high freshwater use. Now move to the second generation. Second generation means what? We're using what? Food waste. Food waste, it is being used for the development of biofuels. Food waste, for example, organic waste, agricultural residue, sugar cane, जो बच जाता है, that will be used for the development of what? Biofuels. So now we are not using any food articles. Here one thing is that less amount of carbon dioxide is emitted. Less amount of carbon dioxide is being emitted in comparison to the first. Okay. Next is what? Third generation. Third generation means what? It will be developed with the help of genetically modified organisms. Direct capture of carbon dioxide, no land use, reduced freshwater bypass. And fourth generation is what? We will be developing it from genetically modified organisms that will be used for the purpose of carbon dioxide sequestration also. That means in the production process they will be going for the sequestration of carbon dioxide. For example, here you can see it there in your notes. Okay, here you can see. Okay, third generation. The third generation biofuels take advantage of the specially engineered crops like algae. The algae are cultured to act as a low-cost, high-energy and entirely renewable feedstock. It is predicted that algae will have the potential to produce more energy per. So when you talk about the third generation in comparison to the first generation and second generation, the energy density will be much more stronger. Algae can be grown using land and water unsuitable for the food production. That means what? यहाँ पे क्या होगा? We are not using the fresh water. A further benefit of the algae-based biofuel is that the fuel can be manufactured in a wide range of fuels, such as diesel में भी कर सकते हैं, petrol and jet fuels itself. It is potentially what? Carbon neutral. First, carbon emission was very high. Second generation, carbon was a bit lower. But when you talk about the third generation, it seems to be carbon neutral. But fourth generation is what? Carbon negative in nature, because they will what? Go for the process of carbon dioxide sequestration. Fourth generation, the fourth generation biofuel is aimed at not only producing sustainable energy, but also a way of capturing and storing carbon dioxide. That means what? They undergo the process of what? Carbon dioxide sequestration. Production, when the production is being involved in the production, what? It's a what? Genetically modified one. And because of this, यहाँ पे क्या होगा? They will be used carbon dioxide sequestration. And because of this, it is what? Carbon negative. Carbon negative. So the biomass materials which have absorbed carbon dioxide while growing are converted into fuels using the same process as second generation biofuels. This process differs from the second and third generation production, as all the stages of production the carbon dioxide is captured using process such as oxy-fuel combustion. The carbon dioxide then go to the bio-geosequestered by storing it in the old oil or gaseous fields or saline liquefiers. This carbon capture makes the fourth generation biofuel production carbon negative rather than simply carbon neutral, as it locked away more carbon than it has produced. The system not only captures and stores carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but it also reduces carbon dioxide emissions by replacing fossil fuels. Is it okay? So we'll talk about some of the biofuels. Okay. So first of all, what we have? Bioethanol. Bioethanol. It's a what? Biofuel. So Prime Minister inaugurated India first bamboo-based bioethanol. Bamboo-based bioethanol. That means what this bioethanol? Bioethanol is what? Bamboo. Bamboo is what? Non-eatable in nature. So it belongs to your second generation biofuel. Which one? Second generation. Third generation means what? We have to develop it with the help of algae. Fourth is what? Genetically engineered, more carbon dioxide sequestration. It is being developed from the bamboo, non-eatable in nature. That means what? It belongs to your second generation. Okay. 2G ethanol. Okay, second generation. Bioethanol produced from the renewable biological sources like food crops, agricultural waste sources. According to the National Policy on Biofuels 2018, bioethanol is ethanol produced from the biomass such as sugar containing materials like sugar cane, sugar beet, starch containing materials such as corn, cassava, etc. Cellulose materials such as baggage, wood waste, etc. Applications: fuel, pure ethanol fuel. Pure ethanol fuel is what? 100% we are using bioethanol. Is called your E100. We have blended with petrol. That means what? There is a possibility of 10% blending or 20% blending. It's called E10 or E20. Pharmaceutical, personal care products or bio-based materials like bioplastics. Bioethanol is widely used as an additive in petrol to increase the octane number. If you increase the octane number, what will happen? Knocking will decrease. We have discussed, for example, we are adding what? Tetraethyl lead and bring down the carbon monoxide and other toxic emissions. Okay? E-methanol. So, or electromethanol. Recently, world first commercial scale e-methanol plant began operation in Denmark. Low carbon energy produced by combining green hydrogen which captured carbon dioxide. Ethanol production typically involves the three key steps. First is what? Green hydrogen. Green hydrogen means what? Green hydrogen क्या होता है? What is green hydrogen? Green hydrogen. If we are using solar energy for the purpose of splitting, we have discussed about the calorific value. For example, petrol. What is the calorific value? 4500 kilojoule per kg. Diesel 4500 kilojoule per kg. But when you talk about the hydrogen, it is having what? 1.5 lakh kilojoule per kg. That means what? The calorific value of hydrogen is very much high. So in the coming future, we will be moving towards the hydrogen economy. So now there is a green hydrogen. Green hydrogen means what? If we carry, obviously the hydrogen, it will be released by the process of what? Water splitting. So for the purpose of water splitting, we need energy. If that particular energy comes from your solar energy, renewable source of energy, that's the what? Green hydrogen. जो hydrogen आपको मिल रहा है, it's your green hydrogen. ठीक है ना? So green hydrogen, renewable energy produce water electrolysis, create hydrogen. That means what? We will carry out the process of water splitting, and for that purpose of water splitting, the energy that is being required, it will be coming from the renewable sources. तभी तो green होगा ना वो. Okay. Carbon dioxide captured from the industrial flue gases like steel mills, cement plants, or directly from the air, reducing overall emission source. We will capture the carbon dioxide. We have what? Hydrogen, and that hydrogen is what? Green hydrogen. Methanol synthesis. Hydrogen and the carbon dioxide are combined. Which one hydrogen? Green hydrogen. This hydrogen is what? Green hydrogen. Green hydrogen plus carbon dioxide are combined in a catalytic reactor under pressure, yielding methanol with minimal byproduct. So यहाँ पे carbon dioxide, this carbon dioxide, it is being captured, and we have generated hydrogen. उसको साथ में रख दिया with help of catalytic reactor. What we have produced? Methanol. ठीक है ना? Application: shipping industry, derivative, gasolines, kerosene are used in transport. Methanol economy program in India by Niti Aayog. Benefits: creates 5 million jobs through methanol production. 6,000 crore can be saved annually by blending 20% dimethyl ether, a derivative of methanol in LPG. Compressed biogas. Compressed biogas. What is biogas? Suppose if you are having the organic waste, those organic waste under anaerobic condition. Under what? Anaerobic condition. Anaerobic condition means what? It is devoid of oxygen. The bacteria will degrade it, and while degradation, they are going to release a gas that is called the biogas. Now, if those biogas they are being compressed, they become your compressed biogas. ठीक है ना? So recently, India first cooperative multi-feed compressed biogas plants was inaugurated in Maharashtra, developed with the assistance of national cooperative development corporations to produce 12 tons of compressed biogases and 75 tons of potash from jaggery, molasses, etc. So when you talk about the compressed biogases, prepared from the raw biogas can be used as a clean renewable fuel like compressed natural gases. Raw biogas is produced by, we have discussed, anaerobic digestion of biomasses and waste sources like agricultural residue, cattle dung, food waste. We will keep it and will completely enclose it so that it becomes devoid of oxygen. And if we carry out the anaerobic process, what will be getting? Biogases. Now these biogases, it comprises of methane, 50 to 60%, carbon dioxide 35%, and other impurities, hydrogen sulfide, water vapor, etc. Now we have to remove it. Raw biogas is purified to remove hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide, and water vapor. Increasing methane concentration, because when you talk about the methane, it has also what? High calorific value to 90% and is then compressed to 200 to 250 bar. Okay, we have the biogas. In this biogas, hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide, and waters are there. They will be removed, and finally what? We will take the enrichment up to 90%, and these gases, if it is compressed to 200 to 250 bar, it becomes your compressed biogases. It's an alternative of your compressed natural gas. Now initiatives taken by India to promote compressed biogases. यहाँ पे याद रखिएगा, UPSC 90% we have what? Methane. Okay, methane. What are the different initiatives? First is your Govardhan. Govardhan. Gobar means what? We have discussed that when you talk about the biogas, it is being derived by the anaerobic digestion of gobar, cow dung. And now this, when we have increased the concentration of methane after removing hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide and water, वो क्या बन गया? Compressed biogas. And after that we have compressed it. So obviously what this is called your Govardhan. Galvanizing organic bio-agro resource done, converting cattle dung and solid waste in farms to bio-CNG and compost. Other is what? Sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation initiative, setting up compressed biogas plants for production of CBD, compressed biogases. Okay, now this is your biodiesel. Biodiesel is a liquid fuel from vegetable oils and animal fats through what? Trans-esterification. It is used in the replacement of a blending with petroleum-based diesels. Depends B5, that means a 5% blending, B20, B100%. B20 commonly used due to cost effectiveness, low emission, and compatibility with conventional engine. That means what? Already we are having the engine, it is compatible with that. We do not have to go for the engine modification. And is a blend containing 20% biodiesel and 80% petroleum. B100 less commonly used is a pure biodiesel. Now National Policy on Biopolicy 2018 sets 5% biodiesel blending target for diesel by 2030. Up to 2030, how much biodiesel we have to blend? 5%. Initiative, the RUCO, the repurpose used cooking oil. Already the cooking oil that is being used. Initiative by FASI encourage the conversion of UCO into your biodiesels. Why? Because when you talk about the used oil, for example, the samosa, I say we do not have to use samosa. Do you like samosa? It is the worst food in the world. Samosa. If you want to have samosa, better to go into the shop and take the raw one, that is into the shape, and bring it in the home itself. You cook it, because in the home itself, what you will be using the fresh oil, but in the samosa they will be using what? Multiple times it is being heated. Because of the multiple times that is being heated, trans fat content is very much higher. When you talk about the trans fat, it is responsible for cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and all this. So if you like samosa, take 10 samosa, go into the room and khud se bana lo. But it is the most affordable one, huh? And 10 rupees. जाकी रही भावना जैसी. Aviation fuel, go through it. Biogas we have discussed. Biochar क्या होता है? It is the spectrum of black carbon produced by the controlled process pyrolysis of organic materials from the forest and agricultural waste. For example, what is biochar? We have discussed that we have the 4 varieties of coal: peat, lignite, subbituminous, bituminous, and anthracite. If you go like peat or lignite coal, the lignite coal is very cheap in nature, very much cheap in nature. But at the same time, what we have discussed, that The concentration of moisture, it is very much high in peat. After that, it is very much low in anthracite, and because of that, the anthracite, when it is being burned, it releases low moisture and low smoke. It is being released, but we do not have those stove. Now, when you talk about like tandoor and all those things, there if you go, they are actually using biochar, a similar form of biochar. Lignite coal is there, so they will purchase the lignite coal. Now, in the controlled atmosphere, they will be burning it. Now, with the heat, what will happen? The moisture, it will release in some places, and finally they will bring it over there in the market and they will burn it. Otherwise, what will happen? The MCD jo hota hai, they won't allow it. So this is the example of biochar. Pyrolysis of organic material from forest and agriculture. It resembles normal wood charcoal. The main objective for the production of biochar is utilizing carbon sequestration. It is speculated to have been used in the soil supplement of Amazon basin thousands of years, where the region of fertile soil is known as terra preta, were created by the indigenous people over there. This is the biochar. National Bioenergy Program. National Bioenergy Programs. Okay. National Bioenergy. Now from here, it is very much important. 2 to 3 topics are there. Okay. So, national bioenergy, that means what? Bioenergy means what? We have discussed the bioenergy. Recently, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, do not get confused with what? Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Here, these are what? Sustainable fuel. So, when I talk about the sustainable fuel, it's a what? Renewability. That means what? It will be coming under Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Okay, na? You will get confused if it get changed into the examination. So, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy updated guidelines of the waste to energy and biomass components of the National Bioenergy Program. National Bioenergy Program launched in 2022. Implementation is basically 2 phases. The first budget is how much? 1715 crore, and we are in the first phases. Okay. Objective: utilize surplus biomass primarily from the rural areas for power generation. Biomass means what? Either it's your cow dung and all those things, or it belongs to the second generation. Central financial assistance means how much money it is being given by the center. So key assistance include rupees 4 crore per 4800 kg per day for new bio CNG project. It's one time. Do not get confused every day. That means what? If there is certain bio CNG projects, okay, if it is having the capacity that it will be using 4800 kg per day biomasses for the generation of bio CNG, he will how much get? 4 crore. Maximum up to how much? 10 crore. And rupees 35 to 45,000 per kilowatt of power. How much? Suppose I have developed a bio CNG plant or biogas plants, okay, whatever it is, and if I am having the capacity, it generates 20 kilowatt of power, or 1 megawatt of power. So accordingly, per kilowatt, I will be getting how much? 45,000, depends. For example, I am having 1 megawatt power, 1 mg. How much money I will be getting? 1 megawatt. I have developed a power plant that uses bio CNG and it develops 1 megawatt of power. So 45,000 multiplied by 1,000 multiplied by 1,000. How much it will be? 4.5 crore. Is it okay? So what is the limit? 4 crore to 10 crore. ठीक है ना? Maximum 2 to 3 megawatt ही develop हो पाता है. Now special category 20% higher is available from northeast region. How much? 20% it will be higher. समझ में आ गया ना? What is the limit? 4 crore to 5 crore. Depends upon the your how much capacity of the plant it is there, so that what it can generate, it can burn the biomass, or in other sense, how much kilowatt of electricity it can be generated. One time cost it will be given. And for the northeast state, we have what? 20% extra. Approval process: project must apply via Bio Urja portal to get in principle approval before commissioning. If it is being principally approved, then only you get the funding. Release mechanism: subsidy is released as a capital subsidy post commissioning and inspection when it is being done. Okay, three components. First is what? Waste to energy through technologies like pyrolysis, plasma gasification supports project for generating biogases, bio-CNG power gases from urban industrial agricultural waste. Second is what? Biomass program. Biomass it will be burned for the purpose of releasing your biogases. Supports biomass pellets manufacturing plants, biomasses based cogeneration projects. Biogas production supports biogas plants for clean cooking fuel. A small power needs improved sanitation, women empowerment. Biogas is 95% methane. Carbon dioxide traces we have discussed. When you talk about the biogas, we there in the biogas what we have to, the percentage number of methane is what? Very much higher. Okay. Key features, revised guidelines, waste to energy program, AG approval for MSME and industry. Okay. Approved CFA dispersal, 2-stage release, 50% CSA after consent from state pollution control board with bank guarantee, remaining CFA after 80% capacity achievement or maximum limit. It won't, when you talk about the finance release, it won't be given at single go. We have biomass program, no clearance documents, technical integration, IoT based monitoring, Internet of Things devices monitoring, stubble burning support, pellets producer in NCR nearby states can choose MNRE and the Central Pollution Control Board scheme. Now we have what? Ethanol blending petrol program. Ethanol blending, what is the Union Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gases announced India achievement of 20% ethanol blending target in petrol as per ethanol blending. So what was the target? 20% blending of the ethanol. So ethanol blending refers to the process of mixing ethanol with petrol for more sustainable and clear. Types E10, 10% ethanol by volume. Type 20%, we have achieved this. 85%, but when you talk about our engines, they are more compatible with the E20. We do not have to go for any sort of modification, and we have achieved this target. Okay. National policy on biofuels. Use of sugarcane juice, sugar beet, cassava, damaged food grain, rotten potatoes, unfit for human consumption for production. That means what? Koi bhi aisa cheez that belongs to the food we cannot be used. We have discussed there is a what? Food insecurity debate. Use of surplus food grain to be used for ethanol production and blending with petrol. Surplus food grain. Ethanol. Just a moment. Okay. नेशनल पॉलिसी ऑफ जियोथर्मल एनर्जी. क्या हो गया आप लोग को? थक गए आप लोग? हाँ, यू नीड सम रेस्ट. हाँ, देख के लग रहा है आप लोग को टायर्ड ना. What will happen in Delhi if you go? There are certain institutes, they are taking the classes for 10 hours every day. And the courses that will get completed means okay, we'll end this session over here only. Tomorrow we will start. Okay, na? Thank you.